Thank you. All right, guys. I think we're enough friendly banter here. We're going to get started. And guys, want to welcome you to another episode of What's the Right Shot? This one, episode number 244, with very special guest, Jeff Jacklich, of lots of different fames. I don't know, but I'm gonna go with goldballhunting.com. I'm sure there's some other things we can come up with. Sort of in and out of different tennis facilities right now. COVID shut down the thing in Michigan.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't know, where are you you on the beach today, or are you on?
I am actually, yeah, I'm in Aptos today.
Okay.
On the beach. So that's what I was asking, is that because I've got the door open right now, if that was the ocean you were hearing?
No,
No?
it's just some kind of weird static. No, we're good. We're good.
Right.
So guys, thanks for hanging out with us today. And I want to welcome Jeff to What's the Right Shot? And as I said earlier, I think a lot of you have already seen this point. This is kind of from the vault, but what you haven't seen or what you haven't heard of is we're to get Jeff's opinion today, kind of his coaching on three things. Number one is going to be what the premise of What's the Right Shot is, which is really two things. It's shot choice. Where do you want the ball to land over there? And then the second thing is, where do you want to move to next, court positioning? But I think we ought to dive into some stroke technique today, Jeff. And so guys, as we go through the point, I'm actually going to run the point through until we get to the very last shot. And then I'm going to stop it and I'm going to pause it and kind of ask you, what do you think is the right shot? I shouldn't have even told you it's the last shot. Maybe it's not. Might not be the last shot. There might be a few more. But anyway, and what do you think is the right shot? And then we'll kind of load up the chat box with that. And then, Jeff, let's go back from the start and maybe kind of go through each one of the shots. And you can kind of give your 2 cents worth in terms of those three elements: shot choice, court positioning, and stroke technique. How does that sound?
I love it.
All right, good. Let me move the player out of here. And here we go. Okay, and here it is. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it right here. If you guys have already seen the video, well, if you haven't seen this video, just go ahead and type in, what do you think's the right shot for me right here in terms of shot choice? Where do I want the ball to land over there? And where do I want to speak to next? How about where do I want to move to next? So go ahead and type into the chat box what shot you would play and where you'd move to next. And okay. So far we're getting down the middle, we've got up the middle and down the middle. I love it.
Is that two different locations?
Could be. Strong forehand just to the right of the center line. Okay. All right. Feet of the ad court player at the feet of the net man, then move in.
Close to the guy near the net, hard up the middle.
Hit the service line, closer to the guy near the net. Okay, all right. So, when we talk about the middle, where is the middle right now, Jeff?
The middle is actually not the painted center line. The middle is actually based on the geometry that we're looking at. You have the ball, it's just about, there it is. We can just see it there on the center line.
Right.
Near prep coming in. Great technique, by the way. And so if you take those two players and divide them in half, there's your middle.
So you're saying more in here.
Right.
Than right down, because the ball is almost, it's almost on the center service line, right?
Right.
So the middle could be
So it's really kind of critical, I think, and this is a big issue, I think, is that I think a lot of players get fooled and get distracted by the painted lines on the court. That
Right.
wherever the ball is across the net first, that's the geometry I have to work with on my side of the net. Once the ball's on my side of the net, now the geometry is for me to use. Where do I want to place the ball across the net? And so the middle of the court isn't the center strap. It is when we start the point, but once the point starts, it's all based now on the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing here in this situation. So for me, if you're asking me where's the middle of the court, it's right smack dab between those two players.
Okay. And I'm going to add one more little thing to Peter's changing his vote. He's saying just drill the guy up at net. Just go ahead, just tattoo the guy.
Peter, I like that.
So look, as I'm coming in, right, as I'm sort of getting set up, I'm thinking not only. Ouch! That was
right.
Okay. I'm not thinking winner. I'm really thinking I want to get on balance here so I could, if they guess where I'm going, that, and the guess could be here. It could be over here. Maybe it's up this alley, but wherever they guess, I want to make sure that I can at least get into a good court position for the next possible shot. The other thing I'm thinking about here, Jeff, is I'm thinking more about the net player and what he's thinking I'm going to do.
Right.
So that's part of my shot choice is he actually going to be thinking, well, like everyone's, or not everyone, but some players are saying, well, play it up the middle. Well, maybe he's thinking that's what I'm thinking. So I'm starting to think, what might this guy be thinking?
Right.
And a lot of players would think in this situation, you know what, he's sort of left himself out here almost as an invite to kind of go up the alley. And so I'm thinking that's what he's thinking. I hope I'm kind of articulating this right. But anyway, I think that's part of your shot choice is sometimes is you've got to be thinking, well, what's that other, maybe what's he's considering of where I'm going to go. And so my shot choice here is thinking that Al is actually going to start covering over to his alley. And I want to try to keep it away from Paul.
Right.
So I'm not really thinking that these guys are just literally going to stay there as I'm hitting the ball. And sure enough, Al starts to move to his right. And I'm looking to, as he's going over there, and, if he'd stayed there, yeah, he could have had it.
Right.
So, so that's the deal. So let's go back and if you've got any feedback on my shot choice, I mean, I want you to be thinking about shot choice in terms of not only am I thinking about a certain spot, but I'm not just standing here. I think a lot of players, Jeff, get here and they just wait for the ball to kind of get in the happy pocket right there, and they stand there.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, God, if the guy guesses where you're going to go with it, you're in a lousy court position now. But I think technique-wise, you want to feel like you're moving through the ball to kind of lengthen out contact. And
without a doubt.
And then I've got my partner here as well.
I think on the technical side, and basically, it turns out to be a winner, but it really is kind of, it's a mid-court approach shot that you're hitting.
That's all.
I mean, you're there, and there it is. I don't think you're intending to hit this as a winner. You're hitting it and driving, and obviously you're moving forward after you hit it, right? So I think what's important sometimes is the definition of an approach shot. What is the definition of an approach shot? Here's mine. Approach shot is simply transition between the baseline and the net. Moving from a baseline position to get to a full net volleying position. Okay, so that means there's no distinction as to what stroke that you're going to use on that particular approach shot. And so I always, coach my players to say, listen, if you can take the ball in a slightly higher spot in your strike zone to make sure we get to hit the ball a little more linear,
Right.
rather than up and down.
Right.
And you can hit a full forehand, do it. I know I can hit a full forehand at mid-court and it's going to go in. I'm confident with that stroke. It's not some abbreviated version of my forehand. So I think sometimes the approach shot can be kind of misunderstood, thinking I have to chip it, I got to guide it, I got to shove it in there, something a little less, or the opposite of that, which is the other thing I like to tell my players is your approach shot is also not a failed winner attempt. It's a calculated, I'm expecting to hit another ball after I hit this. You're expecting to hit another ball after you hit this. By your movement, it's very obvious you're looking to take new position after you hit this ball. So I love the fact that you came in head up, you're upright, you got great framework as you come into this ball, you establish that right foot, and there you are. I mean, it's a great piece of work.
So Peter's saying, shouldn't you go with your strength rather than try to think what the other players are doing? And I think at whatever level, let's assume all players are at the same skill level. That to me, I feel like I'm kind of in a vulnerable part of the court right here. So I got to make sure that, okay, my strength is what? My strength is really not stroke technique. My strength is how can I play a shot that at worst case gets me into a better court position. And so if you're thinking that you're going to stand here and just, if your forehand's your big number one weapon and just rip, well, look, you could go right at this guy, but if you rip it, he's got the ball, and now all of a sudden you have no time,
right?
And you're in trouble. So rather than thinking about, well, what's my strength, what's my weapon, right? My big forehand, my big topper grindy forehand that I can just grip and rip. I don't care what level you're at, right? It's all relative. If you're a 3-5, that's a certain level of forehand. There's no way if you're a 3-5 that you've got a 5-0 forehand and the rest of your game is like a 2-5, right? So it averages out to 3-5 in your results. So let's be real. And look, if I'm up here at net and I get a forehand volley, I'm not going to risk going at this guy. If I've got an open court here, why would I, so look, anyway, I hope that answers the question. Norman says a drop shot wide of the ad court is another possibility. Forget that. The ad court back. Guys are far enough back. Yeah, as you were saying that, I was looking to see where Paul was, and it looks like he's running forward. I'm going, Norman. So way to kind of
way to redo the math on that one.
That's right. All right, Jeff. Let's go back and let's kind of take this from the start of the point, and let's talk about return to serve. And this is a really good serve tactic,
really
right?
Good serve.
Straight to the body. And so I'm kind of going, uh-oh, here it comes. What am I going to do? I mean, there's no way it's off to my right. There's no way it's off to my left. So the first thought is don't stand there and try to just shove it back. The first thought is, do I have enough time to get out of the way and maybe get the ball to my side?
Right.
And so now shot choice is either I could lob, right? I can't really drive it from here. Can't really drive it. So I'm just kind of hoping Al decides he's just going to stay. And he does. I mean, that's definitely a pickable ball, right? And who knows what happened leading up to this. I may have lobbed him a few times before this. We don't know.
Right.
But so let's go back.
I think what's great is that you stayed on task. Put ball back in play and get it cross court, to the server who's coming in. I mean, you got to stay in this point somehow. And I think you do a great job of just little chip, little guide, just shove it back. Kind of a dirt ball, not a great opportunity for him per se. And I like your opponent. I like your partner too, the way he kind of squeezes him and kind of says, you're going to come to me there's no room for him to pass him up the alley because the ball is kind of court centric.
Right.
So I like the fact that he squeezed him on that and kind of helped him make the choice to take the ball back to you. You know, I think that's really critical for players there to understand that when you're not the one with the ball on your strings, or you're probably not going to be the one who's going to get the next ball, what are you doing to influence your opponent's choice, shot selection? And I happen to love that part of the game, as you know, Brenny.
That's right.
I love influencing and getting in there and like, go ahead, no, I'm playing possum now or not, or this, or, you know, what's he going to do? And so I love that part of the game. I think the other thing here, I made some notes, is I love the fact that after you return the ball, you don't waste any time to kind of see how it's going. You immediately, you are all hands on deck, and you're looking and immediately recovering back into position to be able to handle the next ball. And I think that's another critical point here that you guys do well throughout this whole point. I made notes the whole way on each of you guys moving. And I think that's really critical part of this is that there is no hitting and watching.
Yeah, that's good. That's
hitting, reading what you've delivered, and now making that where's the next place to go choice.
So Paul plays his approach. I don't know if he can play it much better than that.
Beautiful approach.
Right there, right? And so my choice was, do I want to step forward and volley this thing? Because I do want to be inside the baseline. I don't want to hit that return and then back up behind the baseline.
Right.
So I'm looking and I'm going, you know what? This is going to be a little bit easier, I think, if I just let it bounce, even though it's going to be an on the rise. It's an on the rise lob, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing to think about, guys, is that when you are having to play on the rise, is that I want you to look at where the racket is prepped early. It's really behind where I think contact's going to be.
Right.
So I'm not waiting to kind of hack down on it. I'm not waiting to try to top it. I'm just trying to get it behind the eventual bounce, or I should say behind the eventual contact point, and kind of use the pace that's coming in and just let it get absorbed in the racket, and then just give it a nice kind of relaxed.
Totally.
Sort of.
It's a great play. And you continue to look for position. Your partner does a great job after you do that too, reading. I mean, here's the thing about your partner, a note that I made, is that he squeezed the court.
Yeah.
And the ball goes back to you. He doesn't waste a second. He immediately takes a check to see how deep, what kind of trouble or what kind of, you know, position you're in. And he immediately makes a new decision right there. He sees what's going on and he's like, I'm out.
Yeah, he's going.
This
is going to be a tough ball to handle.
Yeah, and so he's already thinking, I'm going to need to make some room for myself to try and, you know, and boom, there he goes.
Right.
I think it's great, and he goes as far, and this is really critical. He goes just as far as he can establish position before contact. He doesn't keep moving
as
while
Paul's hitting.
He has the ball on his strings, and that's really critical too. Is that he establishes position. It doesn't go to him. Now watch him again. He's looking, you lob again, and he goes, okay, now I'm going to get fully all the way back
because
into
it's
solid defense.
Yeah, and he senses this might be a shorter lob.
Right.
And it actually ends up probably a little bit deeper than what he thought. But
see, but that second move that he just made is what allows him to make this great play.
Yeah. So let's look at Keith's forehand here. First of all, oopsie, sorry about that. He's really compact on it. And I know we can't see much, but he's keeping the racket out to his side. He really doesn't go, he doesn't go racket, you know, back wrapped around. And now all he's thinking about is, I don't have an offensive opportunity. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh boy, well, maybe this is open in here, so I'm just going to rip it. Or maybe I'm going to take it at this guy. There's just no point. He's trying to see if, because we've been on defense the entire point so far.
Right.
The entire point. So he's trying to think, well, what shot can I play so that at least we stay neutral? And he actually hits probably a better shot than what he'd intended. And I think, and now I'm coming back into the play, and really what I'm looking for is how Paul is going to kind of react to this shot. And we both see that, okay, he's now getting stretched out.
Right. Both of you are reading the ball now.
And we're trying to read Paul in terms of
right.
what kind of techniques he going to have. What's the quality of the technique? And as soon as and we're both going, this could be an opportunity.
Totally.
We don't know, because he could play this shot. He looks, stroke technique not great, but that's not to say that he couldn't float it back.
Right.
And get it deep and maybe keep us back. But instead it's short, and we're now going, okay, fellers, you had us for a few shots.
Yeah.
And now we're going to take over.
I think another great couple things here. One is, as your partner made that play, we can see you re-enter the picture. You're back in the play. You're reading what he's done as if you actually hit that ball. And I think that's another kind of maybe a blind spot for a lot of players, is they see their partner create a play and they kind of watch and kind of see how it's going to play out, rather than, I don't want to say anticipating, rather than reading the play as if they were the ones still creating it. And so you're reading his ball as if you'd hit it from your position and seeing like, oh, wait a second here. This guy's reaching. He's on the run. I mean, we can see, look how intense you are. You're looking at that thing and then boom, there it is. You see it off his racket and you are shot out of the cannon like, let's go. Yeah. And so I think it's a big blind spot for a lot of doubles players to not be reading their partner's ball, to know what's the new position. How am I reading the message how much pain has he inflicted or not?
Well, and I'm going, well, look, he's making the shot. Is there, and I'm thinking, all right, Keith, are you actually trying to hit a ball that might enable me to have some kind of opportunity? And
right.
I think that's exactly what you're saying.
And you both did it individually during the course of this point. You both played that role.
Right.
So your partner backing up on the two lobs, establishing new position, gave him the opportunity to create this opportunity for you guys to go on offense.
Right. So I think the other thing I want to talk about is, let me ask before I go, what I want to say here. Any comments, any questions on any of the shots, any of the court positioning, which we can go back to and take a look at? I think one thing that I've discovered over the years, Jeff, is that when we might feel that we're in trouble on a point, is that if you just relax and not panic, like I could have panicked here on this return, right. But I've kind of learned, don't squeeze the racket tight, keep the feet moving, see if you can get a little bit to the ball to your side. And then from there, just take what's available at that moment.
Right.
And then, as a great Dick Johnson would always say, I'm assuming whatever shot I hit over there is going to be coming back. That's okay. But we'll just take it from there. Then we'll just kind of see what happens next. And so sure enough, at least I make the return, and at least I force Paul to make a shot. He does come up with the goods. But now I'm just going, just relax. It's going to be a nice, deep, on the rise lob. I've already decided it's a lob. But you can look at the end of my swing here to where it's really relaxed, where it just kind of, it's not stiff, right? So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that you can get out of a lot of trouble if you'll just not panic, if you'll just calm down, right, and just play the ball on time. Don't rush it. Play it on time defensively. And
yeah.
And so I think the other side of the coin is going to be on this shot, where I've got now I've got an opportunity, and I'm going, don't rush it. Don't rush it. Get into position, get your spacing right, get your feet set, get your racket prepped, let the ball get into that little perfect area. Don't worry if they're going to be covering more court than if you reached out for the ball a nanosecond earlier. just because it looks like an opening. I would rather wait for just the right moment where everything in terms of stroke technique is lined up, not only to hit the shot I want, but to also be able to efficiently move to the next best court position. And look, I'll be really honest with you. I used to, and I see this a lot, as I know you do too. A guy gets this ball right here and he goes, I'm swinging now, because I don't know what's happening over there. I got to get to it. And so they take the ball too early.
Right.
And typically now the contact areas like this, they usually swing over it. It rolls down into the bottom of the net. And they've stumbled to the next best court position. And look, I'll be the first one to admit that,
Well, that's the critical point here, I think, is you just stayed with driving a forehand up the middle. Again, you weren't looking to end the point.
No.
It's obvious by the way you're moving in through the ball and looking for position. Norman says, if Paul had hit the shot back shorter and lower, and I'm assuming that was off your return.
If Paul had hit the shot back shorter and lower, or deeper and lower.
I don't think he could have hit it any deeper.
Yeah, Norman, which shot are you talking about? Are you talking about where he was stretched out on the backhand? Or are you talking about maybe his?
I think it's off your return.
Off the return. Okay.
Yeah, off the return. So here's my answer to that, Norman, and that is this: is that he hit a great shot against Brent. I mean, you can't hit. I mean, he hit a great ball there.
No,
off the backhand.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that he can do anything with this ball.
Yeah.
Other than he's just trying to get it back and play.
Yeah.
I don't think, because his stroke technique is so compromised. He's reaching away so far.
He's just looking to get the ball back and play. And you can tell by his reaction after he hits it that he's not in full control of what's going on. He's just trying to get the ball back and play. And this is another thing I like, though, is that he doesn't hesitate to see what's going on first. He immediately is like, stop the engines. Let's get turned around here. Let's see what's going on. And he makes a great effort to get back into the play.
Yeah.
Without wasting time about like, how's my shot turning out? I think that's really critical too for the players is that when you're that strung out, is like, don't waste time seeing how it's going.
Right.
Get turned around, get back in the court, because your positioning, getting back into position may be the little bit of savior that you get because the guy decides to change direction, or he decides to make shot choice change because you got back in position.
That's such a great point, because look, he's just trying to, after this, he's trying to show me. I mean, he's already felt how deep the ball is going to be. He doesn't have to look at it. He can feel it off the racket. He knows the quality of the shot. He knows the depth. He knows all that. And all he's trying to do now is, just like Jeff said, he's trying to get to a court position before I get to make a shot.
Right.
So that maybe that sort of disrupts my shot choice, or it really narrows it down. So that's really great. A great point there, Jeff. And then Alex says, did you see him move before you hit? I'm assuming, no, I did not see. I'd already decided that I thought he was going to move. I guessed he was going to move. Man, if I'm looking at him, waiting for him to do what he's and then try to refine the ball.
Yeah.
Not going to work for me. Maybe there's some other superhumans out there that can do that, but I can't do that. I've already guessed that he's going to move to his right. And so you have it.
Right. See, so if I'm that guy, who is that player there, Brenny?
This guy right here?
Yeah.
That's Al Folster.
So if I'm Al, I don't give up the center. And that's just me, my particular style of play. Once I decide I'm squeezing the center, I'm going to force you to either to bring the ball to me or go out to the edges of the court to pass me. I'm always going to try and find a way to make you go to the edge of the court, because there is the law of diminishing returns. At some point, you hit the ball out.
So
right?
The
less court to work with.
That's right.
And thank you, Robin, for the Federer call out there.
It's either Federer or Djokovic. It's just you can't decide which one. So here's my thinking. If I'm Al, again, I am looking back to my partner to see how much trouble they're in. I know that these two opponents aren't now all of a sudden up on top of the net.
Right.
I don't have to be looking at them to see the reaction of what my partner's doing. So I'm taking a peek. I'm looking at my guy, and I see that it's a floater. I've already seen it's a floater. He's starting to back up, right? He's starting to try to defend. Now, if I'm Al, I know it's a floater. I know one of these two guys, I'm not sure which one yet, one of these two opponents is coming in. What I'm going to do as this ball is sitting, I'm going to try to visually disrupt that landscape. So if this is me and I see this player coming in kind of sizing up the ball and deciding where they're going to hit it, I am going to throw in a big, ugly, nasty, one big step in the middle, early fake, just to try to disrupt, dirty up the landscape. Doesn't always mean that it works.
Right.
But you never know. I think it's better than just standing here and kind of waiting.
I agree. If you're asking me like how I would have played that,
yeah,
I probably would have given up the center as a look. I probably would have paid like where he's at right now, where Al is at right now. I'd probably be one position to his right, playing possum a little bit.
That's
and
right.
Teasing you to come center. And right about the time you're lined up to hit, finished my move to the center. And
Right.
You played me enough, Brent, that you know that I like the possum play.
Yeah. Well, I played you enough, Jeff, that it would make me so nervous I'd hit the ball in the crowd in the back fence. Okay. Mark's asking, where is this being played? This is over at Deep Canyon Tennis Club or Racket Club in Palm Desert. It's up Highway 74 out of the El Paseo area. This was actually a couple of years ago. What they do, this is kind of funny. This is a Sunday morning, and they do this very unhealthy thing at Deep Canyon every Sunday morning in the winter. And this is Paul Wolf, and he's got one of the little condos around there. And they all think Paul is just like the god of tennis. And look, he is, that's fine. But anyway, so on Sunday mornings, they have something called, I think it's called Coffee and Donuts. And it's, it's like, how can we get another quadruple layer of glaze on that donut, please? Anyway, it's a great deal. And it's just fun. They usually get a pretty good crowd out there. This was, I guess, sort of an average crowd on that day. But it's great for us because they love to watch the guys, the better players, come out and play. And it's entertaining. You meet a lot of people, have a cup of coffee afterwards, and it's all fun. And this would be right up your alley, Jeffrey. You would be.
Not that I don't like a crowd, right?
In seventh heaven. Well, and just kind of the highlight reel.
So everybody's saying that Paul he didn't volley that ball, did he? I thought he took it off the bounce. Can we go back up there?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, he did take it in the air.
Yeah. So
I think if he doesn't take it in the air, he doesn't hit the ball.
Yeah, and here's, I mean, let's take it back even the overhead. So why do you think he's already played one overhead to me, right?
Yeah.
And now he plays the second one from here. And he's drifting back. He's not this is a tough ball.
Tough. Who hit that lob?
Anyway, so he plays it back towards Al, which I think is probably the right shot, because if he goes back to me,
yeah,
then
the ball's moving from him.
Then I've got a ball where I can easily take it cross court. It becomes an approach shot, really, for me.
And the problem is that now the ball is literally moving away from it with that geometry.
That's right. So he's trying to get back in a little bit. I just think, I think Keith just hits a tremendous shot here. A tremendous shot. And is this going to happen every time? Can you sort of write up a formula for this point as to how to do it so this happens every time? No.
Right.
No. and that's the whole beauty of being able to take time when you're on defense and just hang in there long enough on defense, thinking there's a chance that we might have an opportunity here. We don't have to panic. And I mean, Jeff, how many times in doubles have you put up lob after lob after lob, 3, 4, 5 lobs? And, it'd be kind of fun to to know what the stats are. Once you put up 4 lobs in a point, how often do you win the point?
You win the point.
The guys get so ticked at having to hit overheads that eventually they try to end it, and either they miss it, or else it just they're out of core position. So, so Kevin wants to, could we look at Paul's position before he hit the backhand volley? So I'm assuming he means after the overhead. Yeah, I mean, why did he take this overhead rather than his partner? It's on his partner's side. So I don't know. My thought is that if I've got a partner who's got an overhead in the middle, rather, even if he means he's coming on my side, I'd rather have him do that than me have to drift back and play a high non-offensive overhead. Maybe it keeps us a little bit better court position, but
I think the other thing too here on all these balls and what's happening with positioning and all that is that you and Keith put up balls and they're in exactly the right place to cause just enough pain that your opponents couldn't really get a hold of anything that really, let them feel like they were back in control of the point again. And so that's part of it too, is that, we all think that these shots are these intentionally hyper accurate, strokes and shot choices. And, Keith probably was playing the singles line as his margin, maybe just inside the singles line as his margin, caught the ball a hair late and looks like a hero. And he is, because he played with the right margin to accommodate what the possibility is. He's hitting this groundy off of an overhead. And it's very easy to get hyped out on that, to try and, like, when you decide to go groundy off of that rather than just chipping or blocking something back. So, your lob couldn't have been better placed. So I think, there is this variable in the course of a point of where was the intended target, how much margin was the player playing with, and is this turning out way better than anybody expected?
Well, it is, because look, first of all, the return is just shove it back. And, that was definitely intended to do that, but that was more just to keep the point neutral.
Right.
Look, and then this lob is, I'm not thinking anything more than, I am not thinking direction other than I'd like to keep this inside these 2 corners and these double sidelines. But all I'm thinking about is I want to just get it deep enough.
Yeah.
Just get the thing deep enough so that, and I don't care who takes it, as long as it's somewhat deep. And this to me is deep enough right here behind the service line. And now I'm thinking the same thing on this one. I'm not under duress like it was on the
right.
rise
You got time to read the lay of the land.
But look, my court position, you can't even see me. I'm in no offensive court position at all. So again, I'm just thinking, let's keep it deep. Was my intention to go right here? No. I'm just thinking depth.
Right.
I'm just thinking depth inside the singles line. And I think you're absolutely right that Keith is just going, let's just hit this thing inside the singles line.
Yeah, it gave, his reestablishing his position gave him time to be able to read the incoming ball, gave him time to prep a nice forehand.
Yeah.
Gave him time to, read it, time it well, and make the play. I think, you hitting those 2 lobs as well and hitting them as high as you did also gave your partner time to reestablish position. That's another thing that I think players have a blind spot, always thinking that their lob has to be like no one's supposed to touch it. When in fact, the high lob, the kind of the sky lob, if you want to call it, is one of the best plays in the game. It gives your opponent, your partner and you time to establish position. It gives your partners time to have their life flash before their eyes while they're watching this, ball burn up on re-entry.
Right.
And I think that's a critical part of this. I mean, I can't count how many points I've turned around and or won directly off the overhead because it got hacked because the ball was I just sent the ball up high. And
Right.
even though the guy was hitting the overhead from inside the service line, he still hacked it because the timing is now dead. There's no rhythm in the point anymore. There's no rhythm in the overhead anymore from volley, shuffle, step up, scissor kick, boom. There it is. There's a rhythm to it. And once you break that, everybody has to bring their rhythm and timing to the next shot. And that can be a very difficult thing to do. It's no different than, say, making somebody create their own pace. That's basically what you're doing. And that is not an easy thing to do off of a dead ball.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
That's a great point. That's a great point. Okay, guys. Well, look, we're going to wrap this up. Anything else on your mind? Go ahead and throw it into the chat area. That would be cool. Guys, as you know, I've been able to get off of ibuprofen the last 5 weeks of my life, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool. No more 2 or 3 before tennis. No more 2 or 3 before going to the gym and doing my thing or what I've been doing lately on the mountain bike. So look, if you're suffering from any kind of inflammation where you're taking some drugs that you know are not great for you, I'll tell you what, you ought to check out Purium's Core 4. So with that, and that's over at plantsforathletes.com/inflammation. I think that's what it is, inflammation. Yeah. Jeffrey, thanks, man. That was really a lot of fun today.
You're welcome.
Enjoyed that so much. Always great stuff from you. Guys, would love to hear from you email-wise, brent@webtennis.com. Let me know what's going on with your tennis game. Let me know if you got any kind of nuggets out of, I'm not going to use the great word that Jeff, I'm not going to even say it. I'm not going to even say the word. Starts with it is a 4-letter word. I mean, the plural version is 4-letter word.
Right.
But any nuggets that you got out of this thing, let me know, brent@webtennis.com. You can also email Jeff at jacklets365.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys, as always, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks, JJ. Get out there, everybody. Help someone else have a great day. Jeff will do this again some point down the road, hopefully sooner than later.
Can't wait.
All right. Gold ball hunting. Yes. There it is. All right, guys. See ya.
All right.